Hello everybody, this is Dr. Cole, Sunday evening, November 6th, now entering week 12 of Political Science 3753 Con Law for the fall 2022 term. Okay everybody, we have freedom of the press on the syllabus this week. Next week, freedom of religion. I've just finished revising the material for freedom of religion and it just went up on the course website in the past day or two. Later this week, Thursday through Saturday, we're going to conduct our sixth discussion on issues relating to freedom of religion. And then there will be a quiz on freedom of religion issues the following week, the last week of school before Thanksgiving break. What you're asked to discuss is your views on an exchange that I'm sending you, 2 articles out of the Wall Street Journal, an exchange that occurred a couple of years ago, pro and con on the question of whether freedom of religion in America is in danger. So look at those 2 pieces and see what you think. And post once initially and then again in response to at least one class weight between this coming Thursday and Saturday. Now that would be, let's see, the 10th through the 12th, I believe. Okay, so you'll have through midnight Saturday the 12th to get 2 posts in. And then this coming weekend I'll get material out for a quiz that we'll take just before Thanksgiving break. But that's freedom of religion, and before we get to that, we have freedom of the press on the syllabus this week. Lectures 21 and 22. As you begin looking through the class notes, you'll find that a very important tradition with regard to freedom of the press in America goes back to pre-colonial times, well, pre-revolutionary times, and the trial of John Peter Zenger, who was accused of seditious libel by the British authorities in the colonies. Now, turned out John Peter Zenger was acquitted in an act of jury nullification, because really truth was supposed to be no defense against a charge of seditious libel, which really means attacking the regime or the government. Okay, but the jury acquitted him, and the doctrine of seditious libel never took hold in America the way it did, the way it had been in Great Britain. Okay, you'll read about a number of cases in which issues arise as to whether or not the press ought to be restricted. The Stanford Daily case, the Pentagon Papers case, both of which go back to the 1970s. You'll read about the issue of free press versus fair trial. Now, as you move from lecture 21 to 22, you'll notice 22 deals with libel and obscenity. And we've already discussed in the material we had you look at for the quiz last week issues in libel law in America going back to the decision in the New York Times versus Sullivan case, which is the premier precedent in libel law in the United States going back to 1964. Now, what we were having you read about for the quiz was the criticisms that have been offered by Justice Clarence Thomas and Justice Gorsuch of the New York Times versus Sullivan decision. They think it may be too hard in America to win a libel judgment, because the precedent has been that it's very hard to win a judgment if you are a public official or a public figure, because the Supreme Court took the attitude that to inhibit discussion of such people too much and to make it too easy for them to win a libel award would stifle free speech in America. So you have to prove actual malice. Okay, all right. Either that a statement was false or that it was made with reckless disregard of whether or not it was true. Okay, and Gorsuch and Thomas seem to think that that is a little bit too high of a bar, so they may press for that precedent to be reviewed at some point in the future, and you were reading about that for your quiz last week. All right, so lecture 22 deals with libel and obscenity. Obscenity has been an extremely knotty problem in the United States constitutional law, and the court tends to throw up its hands whenever it gets an obscenity case. It finds it somewhat difficult to deal with. All right, but anyway, that's freedom of the press, which is discussed in the notes for lectures 21 and 22. Then next week we'll have lectures 23 and 24 on freedom of religion. Later this week we'll be conducting a discussion related to freedom of religion Thursday through Saturday this week, just before we get to freedom of religion on the syllabus, and then we'll have a quiz on that topic before we take off for Thanksgiving break. Okay, so freedom of speech, freedom of the press this week, freedom of religion next week, and a discussion later this week, Thursday through Saturday, on issues related to freedom of religion in America. All right, so take a look at that material. I hope you'll take part in the discussion. Study hard, take it easy otherwise, and we'll talk to you again a week from now at this time.